I chose survival because I want to look more into the type of survival, the after effects of actually surviving a traumatic experience. Many people have survived numerous things such as war, being deserted on an island, or stranded in the middle of the ocean. But the question is, what were their lives like after surviving? What kind of effects took on them, and how did they deal with their everyday lives after these traumatic experiences? As you may realize, there is an epic instrumental running in the background which I chose to define what happens after a traumatic experience as the survivor begins to relax, seeing that the problems are done. But with just a simple snap of a finger, they will realize there will be problems and problems to fix after their traumatic experience. Post-traumatic stress disorder, abbreviated as PTSD, can develop after a very stressful, frightening, or distressing event, or after a prolonged traumatic experience. In this first segment of my research, I will analyze and visually show 3 different survival situations: a plane crash, a war mission gone wrong, and a ship hostage situation. I will show scenes from 3 movies that represent the true stories of each of these traumatic experiences. The movies above are Captain Phillip, American Sniper, and Sully. These movies on the screen will convey a better meaning to my points and help the viewer have a better understanding of what I will be saying. I will begin with The Miracle of the Hudson, the movie Sully. Captain Chesley Sullenberger, better known as Sully. The scene shown here is from a movie titled Sully, which is based on an emergency landing in New York's Hudson River. This exact scene is actually a dream sequence which shows Sully's trauma he has developed. He did successfully land the plane, was claimed as a hero from the public, but he did have severe trauma, and Sully himself will explain in this next video.
That first night, I slept perhaps 45 minutes to an hour. I just couldn't sleep anymore. The next day I would try to read a newspaper or a magazine, end up rereading the same sentence 5 times and finally giving up. I just couldn't concentrate, I couldn't focus. My mind would keep going back to that moment and flashbacks, reliving it. I'd lost 13 pounds. My wife was shocked by my appearance. My skin looked white, my eyes looked sunken in as if I'd been starved.
As you may have heard, Sully did not only have a mental illness but also a physical illness. The unintentional loss of 13 pounds is very negative towards the human body. In many interviews, just like the one shown, Sully repeats his new defects in his mental state: the distracted thinking, constant what-ifs, second guessing, especially late at night. This is an example of Sully's PTSD. I quote, "I think I knew it was taking a toll on me, but I don't think I realized until Laurie's reaction how physically apparent it was." End quote. This was said by Sully, and it proves my statement in the beginning of the video: a person may survive, but they won't realize how much more they still have to push through after their initial traumatic experience. The American Sniper. Navy SEAL Chris Kyle lays on top of a torn building, pointing his rifle at a mother and her child. His first tour, and maybe his first 2 kills, on a mother and her child. The pressure of either saving your own men or being traumatized by piercing a bullet through a family. First, we must know what Chris Kyle really is like, what his goal is, and why he chose to be here. Family, something Chris Kyle holds very deeply, as that is why he is at war in the first place. His objective to protect his nation, his men, and his wife and children. I chose to open with the breach scene because it shows how much the ending of this scene impacts Chris. Chris has broken into a home and is looking for a specific person, but runs into an innocent family. He asks the family that they are looking for a specific person, and the family explains that they will give him the information if they receive $100,000 and the protection. Once again, something Chris holds very deeply. Unfortunately for Chris, his team, and the innocent family, they are ambushed and the family's little son is captured as a man drills his head while the father watches in pain. Chris is trying to get a viewpoint and sees the whole violent act go down, impaling his brain with the memory of failing to protect, watching a child die, and his own father later being gunned down. Chris knew he had failed. A person may leave the war, but the war won't leave you. As we see in this scene, Chris is watching his own brothers being killed on TV, next to a Christmas tree, the symbol of God, religion, and family. Chris has severe mental trauma, and as you heard in the intro, he hears the young boy screaming till his life is torn away. Chris hears the bullets taking the lives of men, good or bad. They are lives, and they have impacted Chris. Chris's fourth tour is coming to an end, where Chris and his team are pinned on top of a building and are being pushed from all sides. Chris has finally given up and is ready to come home.
I'm ready to come home, baby.
Chris and his team lose themselves in the sandstorm to get their chance to escape, which they finally do. But the most important part in this scene is when Chris drops his sniper rifle, leaving it behind in Iraq. A symbol of finally leaving the war, the rifle that took over 160 lives of people in Iraq, including one woman.